and they don't need to go there. And this is, and this is when someone actually asked me about 2 weeks ago, because they asked me, because as someone pretty much knows, I have quite sort of moderate right-wing views, I suppose, because I believe in people taking personal responsibility, teaching self-reliance. That's how I chose to bring my daughter up, and that's how I believe everyone should be. And I was asked, yeah, but don't you think we should help vulnerable people? And I said, there's a very difference between being vulnerable and making people vulnerable, which is very much a left-wing side of thinking. People who are vulnerable are people like children, people like who are you've got mental challenges, mentally disabled, physically disabled, and there's a level of help that we've got to give them. But if you actually give people who are fully capable...
If you medicalise people,
medicalise people who are capable, you are making them dependent on you to look after them, which is, again, some ways taking their purpose away, because without any purpose, they've got nothing strong enough to actually work towards.
That's right.
All right, and this is the issue I actually have.
The problem a GP has is they do not have the armoury to help their patients in this situation, because essentially, as we've said, modern life is not suitable for human beings, and it stresses human beings and makes human beings anxious and depressed. And it is therefore an issue for government rather than overstressed GPs. So overstressed GPs, all they can do is give an antidepressant, and sometimes it'll have a placebo effect, but a lot of the time it won't help much if you're not clinically depressed, and that's the problem you've got. And also unless and also the GP may miss another diagnosis. So, for instance, I've just seen a patient recently who was given an antidepressant, and he fulfilled all the criteria for clinical depression, and he stopped it because it made him feel a bit tired. Fair enough. And I've seen him 4 or 5 times as a client, and he wasn't getting on with things. He didn't have a purpose in life, and I said to him, one of your big problems is you don't have a purpose in life. And you and I discussed this last time. And he's eventually perked up, and he said, Mike, you're absolutely right. I don't need the antidepressant. I need a purpose. But he's not going about the purpose. And the reason is he's almost certainly got ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which means he can't motivate himself in a structured enough way to get on and do stuff. So he needs treatment for his ADHD. So essentially, you need, sometimes the GP is not expert enough. You need to go and see a psychiatrist, or you need to have a political solution to something. GPs can only do their best, and they do an amazing job.
I'm not criticising GPs because I think they are overwhelmed with.
But you see, the thing is, you brought up an incredibly important point, because GPs are seen as the first line, and because antidepressants do work, at least in a significant minority of people. There was a big article in the Lancet last year saying that antidepressants should be prescribed even more, which is a complete disgrace. Of course they should be given
pharmaceutical funding probably covered that one.
It's a complete disgrace. And then there was another article rating the strength of antidepressants, and mirtazapine was put in the top 3, even though I can tell everyone right now it doesn't really work. The research articles, if you read them in depth, show this. Reboxetine also doesn't work. There's been a positive discrimination in publications. So the professional journals will publish positive results, but not negative. If you look at unpublished results, it's 50-50 with reboxetine.
But it's you know, because I've been going through some changes in the last probably 7 weeks, I suppose. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I've lost about 1.5 stone in weight because I've actually changed my diet. And
well done.
Thank you. But it was mainly to do with a £1,000 bet. Now, you challenged those about the money, and actually it wasn't. Partly it was probably my ego, didn't want to lose the bet. But it wasn't an external motivational trigger, because if I think about it, I'm not internally motivated about my health.
Mind you, it's only... I've known you for 3 years, 4 years, and you've been on a constant diet. And the only time has been the £1,000 bet. That's got you motivated.
It has got me, but I've been.
I've been. Cost again, isn't it?
No, it's not. I've been.
I've been cost for cigarettes, cost for alcohol, almost certainly cost for illicit drugs.
No, it wasn't. It was finding. It was actually. I said it earlier. It was about learning to change my rhythm, and my rhythm had already started changing because I was already going to work into town on a regular... I was going to town probably about twice a week. Now I'm in town 5 days a week, so I work there. So my pattern has changed, and it was happening around about the same time. So it was a change of environment. But the thing is, when you think about eating up in town every single day, when it starts getting incredibly expensive. I mean, you walk down the street, you're looking about £7 for a meal. Yeah, it was a cost. But the thing is, I'd rather put that cost into something else, like taking my daughter out, for example, or whatever the reason.
Or your wife.
Or my wife. Well, we just work so hard at the moment. We never get a chance. But I say go out because it's Father's Day tomorrow, so my daughter's taking me out. But I went on and I've been looking at it for a long time, and it's about autophagy type sort of fasting.
Which means in Greek, self-eating.
Self-eating. You could probably describe it in more detail. But basically, I intermittent fast. I only eat 1 meal a day. And I only eat a ketogenic type diet, about 90% of the time. So that's very little carbs, high fat, which is mainly sort of avocados and things like this, and a moderate amount of protein. And since I've done that, my whole state has changed. So the insomnia that I had, that you thought I had sleep apnea, has sort of gone, because now I'm sort of sleeping. In some ways, I'm thinking sleeping too much.
But you've also lost 1.5 stone, which would also reduce your risk of sleep apnea.
Probably. I don't think it was ever sleep apnea, but it was. My stress has gone down. I've got far more energy. I don't have brain fog. So there's a lot of things. But you also, something you said to me earlier, goes, why don't you have an apple? And I said, actually, I have had apple, but not in the form of an apple. I take I said apple cider vinegar. I take cider vinegar.
What you mean is in a teaspoon?
I take 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar in water in the morning. And I'm just about to introduce turmeric into that cider vinegar, because the combined effect is actually very good. It accelerates weight loss, but also it's actually very good for you.
Do you know why all this helps? Because the cider vinegar will...
It's acetic acid, isn't it?
Yes, but it changes your gastrointestinal flora to the good stuff.
That's correct.
Turmeric is anti-inflammatory.
And it is, and
you should have black pepper with that, by the way.
And the thing is, so if you have a heavy carb meal, if you actually have cider vinegar before that, it won't cause the same insulin spike as if you hadn't had it before. So I have changed my diet, but the thing is, because I've changed my diet and I've now developed more energy, and I'm getting into a routine now. Just eating once a day, and it doesn't happen all the time. It's probably about 80% of the time. Sometimes I still have 2, but because I've gone into that rhythm, actually. Not even eating during the day is not even a consideration anymore, and I'm in that rhythm. And it's easy to say that now, but that happened. That's taken years to get to that point. And you're right, but it took someone to trigger me to be able to say, actually, let's do a £1,000 bet. But it was about the money. It was about not wanting to lose to him. So that's probably partly ego-based, I suppose, but partly, actually, it was a little push you actually need as well. So sometimes people just need a little bit of...
What happens if you both reach your goals? Presumably then you just pay each other £1,000.
No, there's no one knows anything. If we both lose, we've got to give the £1,000 to charity. So that's the thing, which is fine.
Yes.
Which is great. But I'm there. Now I've got over that. Now I've got the momentum to lose that 1.5 stone. It's not going to stop there. I wanted to continue down to my ideal weight. In fact, I've actually started cutting down on my blood pressure tablets because I was overweight. because I don't feel I actually need them anymore. So I'm just I've reduced them.
Are you monitoring your blood pressure though?
No, not yet.
Well, I think you should.
I probably should.
You're now doing something against. Well, I mean, despite the medical advice, so do check it because
I've
high blood pressure is high risk for illness. I'm afraid.
Yeah, but I've got to go to the doctor to do that. But
well, go.
But
you can buy blood pressure machines.
You can do. But in fact, actually, cider vinegar is also known to reduce blood pressure.
Yeah, but you don't know until you measure your blood pressure.
I don't know. So I do take a lot on board, and I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay, this is not good advice for people, so do not change your pills unless you consult with a medical practitioner who's licensed. No,
that's fine. I accept that, and I will make sure I will book an appointment with a doctor at some point this week, actually. So, but the thing is, by changing that rhythm and changing your environment, you find a different pattern to work towards. So you start developing a different structure. Doesn't mean the structure won't change, but you've got to learn to tweak it to be able to get there as well. Do you actually want to wrap us up? Because we've got about 3 minutes left, and I've monopolized this podcast today, actually.
No, with good reason. I think you've brought up very, very important topics. I think that I'm thinking very carefully. It pains me to say, but I think the best answer given by any of the politicians to questions about drug use is Boris Johnson, and I'll tell you why. Everyone else has been have given self-flagellatory answers. But in fact, the correct answer is, well, almost 20% of the population take cocaine. Does that mean we're going to sling everyone to prison? And those are the people who admit to taking it. Now, clearly, I would never, ever do it in public office because I'm setting an example. And this is the line I'm taking now, and I've taken since I've been in public office. That's the answer to give. Not, I deeply regret it, and because what they're saying is that at some point they've done stuff they deeply regret, but they haven't really given a reason for it. And this idiot who says that whilst he was in Timbuktu and he smoked a bit of opium.
Rory Stewart. I can remember.
Well, exactly. I mean, you've got to ask yourself these. So Boris Johnson, he's given an unserious answer, and quite frankly, those kind of questions are idiotic, sensationalist questions anyway. So ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. That's probably. So it pains me to say he's given the best answer of the lot.
I think he's most likely to win this. Although I think Dominic Raab is the dark horse in all this. He's the one who's most marketable. But the thing is, you put Boris Johnson up in front of someone like Jeremy Corbyn. He is such a good debater. He'll do what David Cameron did to Jeremy Corbyn, make him look like a fool.
Well, you see, Alan Sugar has suddenly come up behind Boris Johnson to support him, even though
has he
past,
really?
He
was a Labour peer, wasn't he?
The reason is because he said that Boris Johnson is the only one who can definitely beat Jeremy Corbyn. So he can't. Because of course, Alan Sugar does not be taxed to death, does he? So he wants the Conservatives in power.
Well, he left Labour because of the whole. They weren't willing to support small businesses.
Well, and also, of course, as he said, he can't bear any more tax, and Jeremy Corbyn will tax everyone to death.
Absolutely, and the thing, but I don't think Boris is that trustworthy. I mean, he got sacked by the Times. I've got to say, I think Dominic Raab,
psychopath.
He is charming, but he's also disliked by a lot of people. I think Dominic Raab over there is probably, he's very clean cut. He's tall. He ticks a lot of the boxes to make him electable. But the thing is, we actually haven't seen him properly in a debate.
He's going to,
but I think he's
going to win because even now they're saying, look, he's playing a low profile because he's afraid of saying and making a couple of gaffes. That's almost an affectionate thing, isn't it? People like him. They feel a sort of closeness to him.
Well,
And
actually, I think there's another reason for that. While we're running out, and I think it's to do is that people don't like to be sold to anymore, particularly the new generation coming up, and he's not selling to them. Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it
He's
there.
just a liar,
Thank you
though.
very much. Cheers. Bye bye.